Hello, everybody, and welcome to our check-in. It is Friday. It has been a long week. Um, Typically during the day, my colleagues and I have been working on our curriculum for social studies for American history. And, it's mentally tiring because you're looking at every aspect of everything that you teach and how you teach it and trying to understand if the value of what you're teaching is important and if there's certain things that really don't need to be there, etc. So we just finished today. It took us 5 days. And my brain is pretty much tapped because at night I'm preparing for my summer job, which starts on Monday. So tomorrow is the 4th of July. So hopefully the weather will be beautiful. You'll be able to celebrate at least with the people in your house, maybe have a barbecue, and just think about the idea of freedom in general, in your own way, obviously. So how do I want to end this week? Uh, you know, I think there are some songs that I wanted to talk about. A couple are related to personal stories. Some are just fun things to kind of end up. So I remember. Well, let me back this up. So yesterday, I was listening to Led Zeppelin, which I do like. I mean, I have to listen to them in pieces. Like I can't just go all day Led Zeppelin. That's just too much rock, like that kind of rock. But so I was listening to the song "Stairway to Heaven," which is one of their obviously most famous songs. And this actually is one of those songs too where, like I was saying in a previous video, like you hear a song on the radio and you just want to sing it, yet sometimes you don't listen to it that much. Well, that's kind of like what that song is, because if you listen to the live version, it's like 10 minutes. It's definitely a commitment. But it is a powerful song, and it reminds me of a memory that I had as a kid. So my aunt owns a campground. I haven't been there in probably 30 years, but my aunt owns a campground. And I remember being a little kid going up there when they were kind of putting it all together and taking a hammer and nails and nailing nails just one on top of the other. And I remember calling it, I don't know why I remember this, but I remember calling it my Stairway to Heaven. And obviously they had to take it down because they had to build a camp. But it's one of those few memories that I have of that. And I think about as I get older, just concept of, even if the song is about in a different perspective of like having a stairway to a place that is considered supposed to be a great place, and then people that have passed that you can go and see and talk to and reminisce with. And obviously, since that is not something we can personally do, you just go like, I'll be back for the weekend, I'm going there, I'm coming back. But it reminds me of another song that I was listening to yesterday by Elton John called Friends. And it talks all about that idea of just how important friendship is. And I feel like, since we don't have that opportunity maybe to tell people like the wonderful things we've been doing or the fun things we've been doing because they're not here, you share it with the people in your house or you share it with your friends. Your friends can fill those voids, and that have that opportunity to really talk to them. And that's where you start building trust, and that's where you start building true friendship. I'm talking like, my buddy actually texted me today, and I don't get a chance to see him that often because he lives in another state. But I know, like, if I don't talk to him for a long time, I can call him up and talk to him like nothing happened. And that's how you know you have a really good friend. You don't have to necessarily talk every day. When you're young, like I think of my daughter who's been talking to her friend a lot, on the phone. And it's funny too because I know your parents will appreciate this. So she has a cell phone because she's going into 7th grade, and she could talk wherever. Like I see her walking in her house, get her headphones, and she's just like, yeah, I'm talking, and it just goes on and on and on. Whereas when I was a kid, first of all, I was grateful to have a phone, but two things. One, my mother thought it'd be funny to get one of those phones that have like the ear and then a separate mouthpiece. It's like, oh yeah, it's so cool, until you have to talk to somebody for more than a minute, and then not so cool. But we used to get these like really long extension cords. We're like, yeah, it's like 10, 15 feet. It's gonna be great. I could sit on the couch, I can talk, until you realize that these extension cords of the phone get like twisted. So you still only have like a foot. You're just stuck talking, standing up, or you'd have to lay on the ground and just sit and talk. And then everybody heard your business, like everybody. So that idea of like you would share things with friends. What I find ironic about this whole thing is I could talk to my friends for hours on the phone. Like it wouldn't matter, just hours. And now I'm like, why didn't you just text me? Like, I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to talk on the phone. You know, it could, whatever you could say to me, say in a text, which I feel like even I have changed. Um, Whereas talking on the phone is just not something I do as much now. So hopefully, I would say though, try to keep those connections and talk on the phone, because hearing somebody's voice is not the same as saying, oh, that looks just like so-and-so's font. No, you can't do that. So I would say keep those conversations going. So that Stairway to Heaven is, you know, thinking about people who are past, but the idea that the song Friends by Elton John is something that you can really show and appreciate. You know, a friend of mine said, what about that song, You Got a Friend in Me? You know, by, I think it was Randy Newman. That was our friend Linda. And of course it reminds me of that because I think of the movie Toy Story, and it doesn't surprise me because my friend Linda, she loves Disney, like everything Disney. And I do enjoy Disney because I feel like when people are like, yeah, it's a Disney ending, oh, it's so cheesy, and I'm like, that's exactly what I want. I want that cheesy Disney ending because I want things to end right. My sister's always saying how weird I am, even my wife too, and kids, because I will look up the end of a movie before it's over. And I'm like, if that movie doesn't end right, I don't watch it, because I feel like I'm not going to invest my time to have some kind of depressing and sad ending. It has to end right. If it ends right, I'll watch it. And it's not like, oh, I know what happened, so it's going to ruin the movie. It actually makes me enjoy the movie more because I'm like, yeah, that bad guy is me now, but man, he's going to get his. I know it. So I love that Disney. And I think of, between my friend Linda and my friend Dana, they are two huge Disney fans. But what I find interesting too is I feel like I make an effort to try to make people feel better. Like I give them words of encouragement or whatever it might be, just like I said in these videos. And what I find interesting is I do love Disney movies quite a bit, and so do they, and yet those two do the exact same thing for me. So who knows, maybe you should start watching Disney movies that will inspire you to go out there and just make people feel good. I don't know, you'll feel like you're a Disney director. Your friend will be upset, you'll be like, wait a minute, what's the setting? 88 degrees on a Saturday in New Jersey? I have an idea. Imagine this, and then end with some happy ending, and your friend will be like, oh, right, thanks, I appreciate it. Who knows? But, so Disney, and I also love Disney music. You know, I'll be honest, when I admit I have gone on car trips where I've put on a Disney CD and I've listened to Disney songs because they're catchy. You know, like the movie The Princess and the Frog, which I've talked about. I love that music because it's all in that New Orleans jazz style. And there is a song which I have talked about, which is called Dig a Little Deeper. And it's basically, sometimes you don't even know what you're made of, or really what your path is, or what to do until you dig deeper. You can't just give up right away. You have to work hard for things, but you also have to know that maybe, yeah, at this point in your life, you haven't really determined what you're really made of. But it will come, you know, and then you'll know your purpose, you'll know your direction in life. But no matter what your direction in life is, no matter what you do, just make sure that kindness and compassion and empathy are your guide. Because if you follow those things, everything will be great. At least I hope, for your sake. And when I think about being happy and I think about just getting myself in a good mood, the last couple songs I'm going to talk about they are movies too, but they're not really, they were made for movies. But the first one is Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger. Now there's a movie, I'm not really going to say the movie, but there's a movie in the scene where the main character has like socks on, he doesn't have shoes. And the song goes, down, 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 and then you just see the character slide across into socks. And you were just, and now the whole time you're thinking like, I want to do that. You're like looking around your house, is there hardwood floor anywhere? And it's, you know, or it could be a kitchen tile, you didn't care. You're like, I'm doing that. You're like, play the music, and then you like, whoosh, you slide over. Of course, playing the music then was, you know, where's my tape? You know, this is rewind, this is, too fast, you know, till you get it just right. And then you click it down and you'd play it. And then of course, you know, it would mess up in your tape player and you'd be like, get me a pencil, stat. And then you get somebody to get a pencil and you'd have to like twist it to make it work. Your parents will know what I'm talking about. But that idea is that music that from that movie, but it's just that feeling of doing that. Another song which is great is Twist and Shout by the Beatles, and that was also from a movie. And the main character is on a float, and he's clearly lip syncing it because it's John Lennon singing the song. Um, but when that song became very popular, especially because of that movie, um, you know, it's that fun feeling of you know, just singing and pretending like you're the main character of that movie. And I still, even to this day, when I listen to the Beatles, especially that song, I like lose my mind because I love that song. And you know, I'll start bopping my head or something because it's the Beatles. So those two songs are great. But the one song, I don't remember if it was really from a movie or not, but when I think about just that idea of rock and what it does to people, it's Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll. You know, that thing, it's like put another dime in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. And it's, or the other way around, actually. But it's just showing that rock and roll can define a generation, right? You know, very rarely would you ever see someone saying, you know, I'm really in a good mood. I just feel like I want to let loose. Go put on Mozart. Do, 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 do. And you're just like, no, you don't do that. You basically, you're like, you get some kind of rock thing and you're like, jam it on. So, but before I kind of wrap this up, we'll talk about more music next week. And I think about, even with any of these songs, is being able to celebrate with your friends. Like what I talked about yesterday, when my buddy was singing like Hotel California, or another friend of mine would be listening to like Nirvana when we would go on road trips, or Pearl Jam, just that grunge style music. But I think about tomorrow being Independence Day, and how tomorrow, this is why I think it's funny, this is why the world's such a crazy place, is so tomorrow you celebrate independence from Great Britain. You know, you might have watched you know, Will Smith Independence Day, when it's like, today we celebrate our Independence Day, which is, that movie ends from July 2nd, I think, to July 4th. You know, this time frame in history is a big deal. Like, even if you go to the Battle of Gettysburg, July 1st to July 3rd was Battle of Gettysburg, most significant battle probably in the Civil War, and then, you know, for fight over freedom, and then July 4th you have independence. But the reason why I'm kind of bringing this back, as I find it fascinating, is because we fought for independence from Great Britain, right? So we'd say, get out of here. And then, you know, in the 1950s, or mostly 1960s, there was something called the British invasion. The British invasion. But that was the Beatles and groups like the Rolling Stones or the Who, and like all these awesome rock bands, you know, from the 60s that came over, that just made America lose its mind. Because Beatlemania, from you watch any documentary, that was like a thing. You know, when I'm in class and I'm teaching, never have I seen a kid just start crying and losing their mind because they're like, it's Mr. Clementi. Ah! No, there wasn't. They'd be like, oh no, he's gonna give us work. But the Beatles, like these people, even when they were like Elvis too, but when they came over, like they would like freak out. And I was just like, are they like, just, is this all fake? Like I couldn't understand. But it's just crazy how music just really inspires you and just makes you, you know. And the reason why, I guess the last thing I will say is, I think about, you know, have you ever been to a wedding, right? And certain music will come on and you'll see people who will be like in their 70s and 80s, and they're just like, I don't care, we're dancing. And they go out and they dance and they have like no cares in the world. And you see certain people at weddings, they look at them like, they think it's funny. You know, they'll laugh like, oh, look at them, they're dancing. And I'm like, that's what I want. I want to be like 70 and 80 years old, not a care in the world, but like, honey, let's dance. And you listen to the music and have a good time, because it knows that you just appreciate the things in life. If music inspires you to dance, dance. If it inspires you to sing, sing. And if you're anything like me and you're in the car and you're singing and you know, you don't even get the lyrics right, but you just don't care. You're just like, and then the chorus comes on and all of a sudden you know all the words. You're like, yes. But before that, you're like, what'd they say? Just listen to the song. And then you just pass right by. You don't even, you know. So I hope you do enjoy your weekend. I know this video seemed a little bit off, a little bit strange, but I'm in a pretty good mood. It's beautiful outside, and I'm looking forward to seeing some friends this weekend. And I'm looking forward to having a nice cup of coffee. You can hear the birds behind me maybe, but I do hope that you listen to some good music this weekend. Maybe watch some Disney. I know Hamilton, I guess, came on Disney today. You know, it was, yeah, so hopefully that'll be good. And I know there's some other good movies that are on there too, so I plan on watching some of that while I get ready for stuff next week. Now next week videos, if you're watching this, they're probably going to come much later because I'm going to be putting in some long days working, and I probably won't get to it till at nighttime. So if you are one of the handful of people that watch these regularly, they are coming. They're just going to come a little bit later. But this weekend I'm going to take some time, obviously, to spend with my family, spend with my friends, spend with my dog. But until our next check-in, everybody, peace out and have a wonderful weekend. Rock on.